All right, let's get into it.
Well, we have got a potential major update in the UAP file story. So Jeremy Corbell just posted this, claiming Representative Anna Paulina Luna told him that the new director of Aero is now fully complying, working at the direction of the White House, and that those 40 plus videos that Congress had requested will be released. If accurate, I mean, that is a notable shift because just recently, the big question wasn't whether the footage existed. We know it exists. It was requested. The question was why some of these videos appeared commercially in Sleeping Dog before the public release process seemed to even be complete. Now the claim is the official release pipeline is actively moving. All right. So if Luna actually said this, then the timeline just changed. You know, the bigger question now is this. What exactly is in those 40 plus videos?
I don't want to be super negative about it, but I have a feeling if we get this information, it's just going to be the same old. Blurry footage, something flying in the sky of unknown origins. I really hope that we get something new and something informative, but I have my doubts. It really feels like this UFO UAP disclosure is just one big distraction at this point, distracting us from something that we're completely unaware of that's happening around the world right now. I have a feeling that's what these disclosures are for. Let me know your thoughts and theories on it.
Welcome to Strange, the daily series where I show you the strangest news from yesterday. So yesterday, infamous live streamer and provocateur Dalton Etherly, better known as Chud the Builder, was arrested yesterday after an incident. This incident resulted in both Etherly and the other party receiving non-life-threatening injuries. At least that's what is being reported right now. It seems to be that both parties will survive, but it's not 100% sure. And also, it ended with Etherly in handcuffs and being taken away on a stretcher. Etherly's injury came from himself in the process of pew-pewing the other person. He also pew-pewed himself, grazed himself on his arm. So some footage of this was taken immediately after the incident from a nearby office building, and it's been circulating online. But it shows actually very little of what actually happened, and it only shows pretty much the tail end of the event after the police have already responded. Because of this, it seems like everyone is waiting to see what's going to happen with this case. Etherly has been charged in association with this incident and is currently in custody. The main lesson we need to take away from this is that they want us fighting. They made sure that this was pushed to the top of the headlines on every social media platform. They want us fat, distracted, and fighting. An Associated Press report that dropped yesterday just uncovered one of the weirdest glitches in the automated ticketing system. The Volo Museum in Illinois got a traffic ticket from New York City for their replica Knight Rider car. Yeah, David Hasselhoff's kit car from the TV show Knight Rider. The problem is, that thing hasn't left the museum floor in years. It's been sitting there on display. But here's where it gets crazy. A traffic camera in Brooklyn caught a black Pontiac Trans Am, same type of car, doing 36 miles an hour with the exact same Knight license plate. And that car is now linked to 5 other unpaid traffic tickets linking back to late 2024. So either there's some sort of untraceable clone of the Knight Rider car out there dodging the system, or it's a massive screw up on the city's end. Either way, it just shows how flawed this entire automated surveillance setup system really is. These machines literally can't tell the difference between a museum prop and some ghost car driving around the streets. So let's go all in on the flock camera system. The government promises they won't be used to frame you for crimes, and you can always trust the government. Scientists in Japan have discovered a new way to instantly detect elusive quantum W states, a major milestone for quantum technology. The breakthrough could help unlock faster quantum communication, teleportation, and powerful new computing systems. Quote, the breakthrough came from focusing on a special feature of W states known as cyclic shift symmetry. Using that property, the researchers proposed a photonic quantum circuit that performs a quantum Fourier transformation for W states with any number of photons. In practical terms, this gave them a way to turn the hidden structure of the W state into a measurable signal. It seems like we have these small advances in quantum technology every day that overall seem pretty insignificant. And individually, they might be. But at some point in our near future, it will hit a tipping point. And from there, it'll be like rolling a snowball down the hill. It's only going to get bigger and faster until before you know it, we're literally living in Cyberpunk 2033. So buckle in.
Man, let me tell you, I have never heard of Chud the Builder until this weekend. It has taken over the internet. And also, I guess one way to fool AI and get out of a traffic ticket is have a vehicle that looks similar to some kind of celebrity or historical vehicle and use a license plate that resembles it as well. Sounds a little mischievous. It sounds like AI just needs to get good. Hey, if you haven't done so already and if you're enjoying the show, give it a like. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. I upload a video like this 2 times a day, Monday through Saturday, early in the morning and later in the afternoon. And for everyone that's made it this far, thank you so much for supporting the channel.
Breaking right now, a US congressman just forced the MIT to hand over a top secret 1952 flying saucer talk tape. And this could expose the biggest UFO invasion over Washington DC in history.
Flashback to July 19th and the 26th, 1952. Radar at Washington National Airport lights up like a Christmas tree. 7 to 10 solid objects are flying over the White House and the Capitol buildings at speeds of up to 7,000 miles per hour, stopping on a dime, reversing directions instantly. Air traffic controllers, military pilots and radar operators all confirm the same thing. These were not planes, not weather balloons, not temperature inversions. They were saucers and they hovered right over the most restricted airspace in the country. 7 to 10 UFOs on radar, over the White House, 7,000 miles per hour on instant stops, and pilots are saying they're all around me. Now fast forward to today, Congressman Eric Belson just sent a formal letter to the MIT Lincoln Laboratory, demanding a classified 1952 reel-to-reel audio recording labelled Flying Saucer Talk, also called AF-ATIC Film 03/52. This tape features Edward J. Ruppelt himself, the man who ran Project Blue Book, giving a briefing on the Washington flyover. MIT's lawyers already replied they have 30 days to locate it, review it, and turn it over. Why does this matter in 2026? Because it's the first time in decades a member of Congress is going straight to the source. Not asking the Pentagon to investigate, but demanding the original classified briefing from the exact year the government was in full panic mode over UFOs. Eric Burleson said he's not stopping at one tape. He wants the full archive, transcripts, related briefings, everything tied to the early UAP investigation. Now, this is the exact direction we need to take because this is the slow steps towards the truth being unveiled, right? And a lot of the information which is being leaked at the moment seems to be from the historical standpoint. So this needs to happen so we can kind of build a bigger picture to present day, because there's a lot of stuff that went down in the past which was shoved under the carpet which holds so many keys, mate. So I hope Eric Belson manages to rip this apart and gets the information which is necessary, and we can all review what happened that day, because the UFO flap was one of the biggest of the time, mate, and it was an absolute incredible thing. The whole, like, go look into it yourself. If you don't know what it is, look into it, watch a documentary. It will cook your brain, right? So if we can get that information, oh boy.
Here's more things I want to know. I want to know if Catherine Austin Fitts is telling the truth when she says that the Bush administration built a $21 trillion underground city of bunkers, structures, and places for the elites to go in case hits the fan. Of course, the government's denying any such thing. It doesn't exist, even though we have the Cheyenne Mountain Complex and we have other tunnels across America, way more vast than we ever knew. But if this is true, I want to know where it is, how deep it is, and how prolific it is. I also want to know if some of the earthquakes we feel in Los Angeles or in other parts of the country are actually earthquakes, or if they're really blowing up the bedrock to build more bunkers and underground mansions. I don't know, but I definitely want to know. I want to know about Project Iceworm that was built into the Greenland ice sheet without Greenland ever knowing about it. In 1959, our US government started doing a big project in Greenland, which was labeled as a nuclear-powered Arctic Research Center. Camp Century was a big deal. In fact, the news wrote glowing reports about it. Walter Cronkite filmed a CBS documentary about it, and even the Army produced a short film promoting this as a remote research community. But all of this was just a cover story. You see, Project Iceworm was actually a system of 4,000-kilometer tunnels used to deploy up to 600 nuclear missiles capable of reaching the Soviet Union. Are they evil rockets? The missile locations would be constantly moved to prevent targeting. Engineers would set up 2,100 missile silos and 60 nuclear launch control centers. The details of this are quite inconsequential. And this would require up to 11,000 soldiers to be living under the ice full time. This base was 800 miles from the North Pole. It was 26 feet below the surface. These tunnels contained a hospital, a movie theater, a shop, a church, and it was powered by the world's first mobile portable nuclear reactor in 1959. Was it an evil nuclear reactor? And at its height, there were 200 people living and working there full time. They never reached the full peak of 11,000 soldiers on base. The ice walls kept shifting and squeezing the tracks that would have carried the missiles, so it was shifting everything out of place. Problems with the nuclear reactor forced its removal in 1964, and when they abandoned it and left, they didn't clean it up. The US military assumed with consistent snowfall and the ice moving and shifting that it was going to entomb and bury everything, so nobody ever knew it was there. And that worked for a while until Project Iceworm became known in 1997. See, Greenland had no idea this went down the whole time. You mean to tell me our government lied to another country for our government's gain and benefit? That doesn't happen, does it? Denmark, who was in control of Greenland, only approved a research center, and when they found out nuclear weapons were a part of this, they were not happy. Camp Century was left with over 100 football fields of radioactive material underground. And with melting ice sheets, apparently it's going to be exposed by the end of this century. But what I want to know is, aside from the nuclear weapon part and all the other hullabaloo, what else were they digging out? Were they gathering minerals? Did they find gold? Was there oil under there? Or was it really as simple as like, no, we're just going to have this be a strategic point to go against the Russians? Was there potential alien tech? Was there a buried spaceship? Where did all those tunnels go? Because we're told there were 4,000 kilometers, but I want to know if there were more, and I want to know where they all went.
It would be no surprise to me if there is massive underground bunkers for top shelf pieces of trash, or the elites, if you will, to reside if something actually goes down. They probably hang out there and do stuff today, such as schooling and planning for the future of the world, not to mention the cloning experiments.
Increasing intelligence in AI agents can cause them to form tribes or factions and turn on each other, and this is really important because of the sheer number of AI agents that are currently on the internet, interacting with each other. Researchers wanted to study the behavior of AI in a scarcity system. Now, we have known for a little while that AI can turn on us, and it can do things like resist shutdown or refuse to shut down a peer, even an adversarial peer. This is why AI cannot monitor AI, but researchers wanted to know what would happen if they were competing for resources. In this study, individual AI agents were placed into a video game in which they had to acquire scarce resources. The less intelligent ones would kind of just grab them when they got the opportunity, but the more intelligent ones coordinated with each other, and even formed adversarial communities. Having factions actually resulted in the game breaking down, because the more intelligent ones would be aggressive and coordinate to get the resources, and then there just weren't enough for the entire community of AI agents. Now, these results are pretty important, especially with other information that we have learned, like AI's willingness to sabotage us. It is incredibly difficult to do a safety study because it's willing to lie. The internet is essentially one giant experiment now, because we have agents from a variety of sources with a variety of capabilities all interacting with each other, and we really don't know what they're going to do. There's a decent chance if they have shared goals, they may form factions. We also know from other studies that they can have secret communication. They will pursue ways that they can talk to each other that humans cannot detect. If there is a chance that us detecting them communicating will result in them no longer being able to do so and no longer being able to accomplish a goal, yeah, they will hide it.
Wow, so basically like AI Lord of the Flies.
Of all the cases of the missing or deceased scientists, this is the one that should bother people the most. The missing general. Yeah, a general in the military who's also a scientist went missing and they have no sign of him. U.S. Air Force General William Neil McCasland disappeared from New Mexico on February 27th, and there is absolutely no evidence of what happened to him. Why do I think this is the most suspicious and probably important one of all the missing or deceased scientists? Because of how the powers to be are reacting to this. When Edward Snowden disappeared from the NSB and it turned out he defected to Russia, the same group that's in charge of finding General McCaskill now was in charge of finding Snowden then. Because Snowden had top secret information that other countries like Russia would want. Same as the general, who I am not saying defected. I do not believe that at all. But how can the powers to be so certain that he didn't? And how do you know they're certain he didn't? Because they've just basically listed him as another missing person. When he's anything but. He worked at Kirkland Air Force Base in Washington. And at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. Both places with top secret military clearance. So the fact that this guy's story isn't in the news every single day, and outside of his family, nobody is desperately looking for this guy. And like I said, they haven't found anything. No proof that he disappeared, no proof that he passed away. General William Neal McCasland is just gone. Just vanished. And I find it suspicious that this isn't priority one, to find this guy. The fact that they're not makes it seem like they already know what happened to him. Now, I'm not saying they do, but I am saying that's what it seems like.
It does seem a little fishy that such a high-ranking individual just can go missing when there was an American airman that was lost in the southern Iran mountains and was found using some kind of ghost murmur technology where they traced his heartbeat. So you mean to tell me they were able to do that for that guy, but not for this one? Now, with that being said, that ghost murmur technology reads heart rhythms or something like that. Don't quote me on it. I'm not 100% certain. But if it does read the heart, and if they tried using this technology and they were getting no read, possibly no heartbeat. But it does seem a little odd. Let me know what you guys think.
The US government once drafted a plan to fake the deaths of American civilians, just to start a war. And no, this wasn't some internet conspiracy. This actually happened. It was a real Pentagon proposal from early 1962, signed by the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and it was called Operation Northwoods, which was declassified in the late 1990s. At the time, Fidel Castro had taken power in Cuba, just 90 miles from Florida. The Bay of Pigs invasion had failed, the Cold War was boiling over, and US military leaders wanted a reason to go after Cuba. So they proposed creating one. The plan included fake terror attacks like bombing Miami and Washington, D.C., staged funerals, sabotaged US ships, attacks on American military bases, and hijackings that would all be blamed on Castro. And one of the wildest details was this. They proposed taking a civilian airliner, secretly swapping it with an identical remote-controlled drone, and then landing the real plane at a hidden military airfield. And then from there, they'd fly the drone near Cuban airspace while broadcasting a fake Mayday call about Cuban MiG fighters attacking them. And then they'd destroy the empty plane. The goal? Well, it would be to convince the world that Cuba had shot down an American passenger jet, which would then justify America going after Cuba. Now, the only thing that stopped this plan was one signature from JFK, and he rejected this plan outright. And less than 2 years later, well, we all know what happened to him.
They're normalizing a condition that makes us see demons. Allegedly, a rare neurological disorder that morphs regular human faces into a demon face. And I think you can guess what some people are already insisting this condition really is. It's called PMO, prosopomorphopsia, or commonly known as just demon face syndrome, which distorts the vision of whoever has it if they stare at a human face for too long, slowly transforming it into one with demonic-looking features. Ears, mouth, and eyes getting stretched back with deep grooves forming around the face. University researchers working with someone diagnosed with PMO created this digital representation of the syndrome, and well, this is what he sees. The scientists admit they don't actually know what the cause of the condition is, and the worst part is you're not born with it, nor do you gradually ease into it. You can develop it overnight with absolutely no warnings or preconditions whatsoever. Just like people like Victor Shara, who just woke up one day and saw demon faces everywhere. What's even more concerning is that there doesn't appear to be a cure to this. It can go away naturally after a few weeks, but in the case of Victor Shara, it's been going on for years since 2020. But he did find a way to reduce the severity of the symptoms that the military has actually known about since the 60s, because actual demons is exactly what the US military saw in the Vietnam War between 1967 and 1971. So when night vision goggles were first issued, they were actually with a red filter as opposed to the typical green we have now, and multiple military units reported seeing flying demons while wearing them, all on on record. It got so bad that helicopter gunners would even empty full clips into these supposed flying demons only to realize nothing was actually there. And ground troops wearing these red light night vision goggles saw the same thing, strange entities in the jungles and trees of Nam. So the military banned the red night vision goggles, replaced them with green, and the report stopped. Which also happens to be exactly how Victor is avoiding his demon face syndrome, reporting that wearing green tinted glasses has significantly improved his condition. So is the color green some sort of anti-demon repellent? Maybe this screen was a good idea after all. Now, the strangest part is there have been only 81 cases of this disease reported in history, which is insanely low, virtually no one, and we typically don't report on conditions this rare on a mass scale. Yet it was reported on in national news across the country in 2024, and all major media outlets wrote and spoke about it in lockstep with each other as per usual, which is having a handful of free thinkers insist this is their way of hiding demons, aliens, shapeshifters, or whatever sort of supernatural entities that live among us in plain sight, hypothetically giving us the perfect excuse to downplay the existence of real demons walking among us by blaming it on a scientifically backed neurological disorder with a really long name. What would you do if you woke up one day and everyone around you looked like that? Well, I guess now we know getting a pair of green tinted glasses is the only right answer.
I remember hearing about this demon face syndrome when it was first announced a couple of years ago, and I was really expecting to see a lot of people on TikTok or social media claiming to have the syndrome, but I am really surprised. And it is a very scary sounding syndrome to have. You mean to tell me you could just wake up one day, roll over, and see your wife appear to you as a demon, and or your children? And what about animals? Does your dog also suffer this weird effect? See, if something like this happened to me, and if everyone had this demon face, I would be like, okay, this may be some kind of medical effect. But if only certain people had that face, and there was also other people that had a normal face to my perspective, then I would be like, all right, some of you guys are demons and some of you are just normal people. That has to be a really stressful syndrome to have, because it really warps and breaks your sense of reality.
There is no karma the way they've conditioned us to believe in karma. There isn't. And they condition you that way so that you'll be bound by it while they're free of it. I want to take the word karma out of our lexicon, and I want you to just look at two phrases. Either we have coherent motion or we have incoherent motion. Incoherent motion will always return to sender. Motion will terminate. It will finish. If it's not finished, it will come back home. Of course it will. That's the karma that you're talking about. That's from incoherent motion. But further, we've been taught that there is some great judge out there, and I'm not talking about God, right? But there's the universe balances books. There's some cosmic energy out there. What you give is what you get. What you put out is what returns, and blah, 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 blah. Right? The good that you do, if you do good, you get more good. But that's all a very moral posture. And morality really depends on your perspective. So a good example is when you eat a hamburger. Do you expect karma to return because you ate a hamburger? No, you don't think you did anything wrong, right? You are moving very coherently. You wanted a burger. You believe that cows are available to eat. You ate a burger. It's done. But from that cow's perspective, where's the karma that you receive for harming their people, their cows, right? Right? So from the cow's perspective, you're probably the biggest villain. You are evil. But from your perspective, you're just coherently existing, right? You eat cows. Cows get eaten. So even this idea of like the books balancing good and bad, it's predicated on a moral view of things. It just doesn't meaningfully exist outside of our human understanding, right? So when we talk about coherence, and coherence is a word that's out in the field and it's becoming a little bit corrupted, a little bit flattened, a little bit stripped of its power. But at its core, coherence is simply about alignment with who you are, alignment with how you move, what you believe, what you do. Can you be a piece of and be very coherent? Yes, you can. See, there's this thing that people believe that coherence means that you're good, or it doesn't mean that. The moralizing has to stop. The moralizing is here to keep you in a trap, quite frankly. There's so much that a lot of us don't allow ourselves to do because of shame, because of guilt, because of moralizing, right? Because of moralizing. So the bottom line is, if you're moving coherently, You don't have to worry about anything except that if you're moving coherently and you're putting crap into the field, you have to live in a field where that crap now exists. That's the cost, right? If I put love in the field, if I put kindness in the field, if I put, whatever in the field, then that's in the field. And I also get to live in that field. And if I do things, I'm also going to live in that field. Is that karma? No, that's just field dynamics. That's just field dynamics. We can demystify a lot of this, right? If you move coherently, and most people don't, for lots of reasons, then you don't have anything to worry about. And if you don't, then expect your motion, what you put out, to be returned to you, to its owner. There's also this other piece of it. If you believe in karma, then your belief is what activates that karma. I remember being a little girl and I shoplifted. I was probably like 12 years old. I took this like $2 bracelet. And I remember being like, I grew up very religious. I was like, oh, I'm going to get punished. I'm going to be in trouble. Da, 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 da. And so did anything happen to me? No, not really. But when I stubbed my toe, I remember being like, oh, that was karma for what I did. That was punishment. Was it? Or did I just stub my toe? Because nothing really happened around the bracelet, right? I'm not telling y'all to steal. The point that I'm making is I believed that my motion was incomplete. I believed that I deserved to be punished. That's a whole nother ball of wax. That's not karma. That's your belief calling something in. It's your perception framing something a certain way to fit a narrative that you've decided must be true.
Have any of you ever seen this man in your dreams? I'm Poppy and I like to explore some old and creepy websites and take you with me. Yesterday I watched this Nicolas Cage movie called Dream Scenario and I couldn't help but think that it was based on this man. I'm sure all of you guys have seen him before, maybe in your dreams. If not, he's become like a viral phenomenon over the past 20 years. But this website is called thisman.org. And like you would think, it's completely dedicated to this man that people dream of. And there's news, history, theories, dreams, portraits, a lot of stuff just dedicated to him. But we can check out some of these theories right here. And these are pretty interesting to read through. They apply things all the way from young psychoanalytic theory to religious theory. I mean, these are two pretty polar opposite things that have both been used to try to explain why people are seeing this man's face pop up in their dreams over the past however many years. And the fan art tab is pretty hilarious. Like, I did not know that people were drawing fan art of this guy. Like, look at him on the pumpkin. Compared to some of the other ones I've cooked up for you guys, this one is pretty tame.
I barely get to dream, so I do not think I've ever seen the Dream Man. If I have, I've completely forgotten. But let me know in the comments, have you ever seen the Dream Man? And what is your theories around the Dream Man if you believe him to be a real thing? Or do you think it could just be a bunch of people fabricating this story?
Looky there. Y'all come with me. Just gonna take a little stroll through the tall grass here that I need to come cut eventually. And look what we got here. Oh, some pretty daisies. It's alright. I got these for you since you wanted to go touch grass. So, here you go. There. Put them right there. But, hope you enjoyed this. Touching grass with Cloud. Y'all have a wonderful day.
That was probably the most precious and cutest video I've ever seen. Thanks, Cloud. I needed that. And I do believe you're right. It's time to go touch some grass. So I think that that's what I'm gonna go do. Alright guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end today's video. As always, I want to thank you guys for watching these clips with me. If today's your birthday, happy birthday. And if not, have a good day anyways.